All right, bro. We got some work to do. So what would you like to do today?
Something. You got any ideas?
Let's start with what you're thinking first.
I got like, I don't know, just take it down on the sides,
Yeah,
and I like a little bit of length on the top, but I like
got you.
above my eyes.
Got you. So do you still want a fro look?
Not really.
Or do you want something that it, like, for example, you have two options. You have a taper where it's like a blend on the temple and on the neck, and then a fade all the way around. You feel what I'm saying? So you could have a shorter version of this with like a clean taper on the temple and on the neck, or it'll be more of like a wedge shape where it's like a fade all the way around, blended up to curls on top, type of
Okay,
thing.
could you do a taper then?
Yeah, we could do a taper, but as far as length, what are you thinking? Half, more than half,
Yeah, like half.
like half of what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's see what the lineup looking like. Oh, the lineup is good. Do you want to keep that natural, or do you want to have like a sharp, clean line under the curls?
A sharp thing.
Under the curls? But do you wear your curls up forward like this?
Sometimes,
Okay, I got you. All right, so we'll do a taper. We'll knock this down about half of what it is, and make you look like a brand new person. And then what about the facial hair?
You can clean it up if you can. I mean,
Okay, I got
line it
you.
up or
I'm
whatever.
excited, bro. Let's do it.
All right, let's get it.
This haircut is one most would run away from, but me, I'm excited to change this man's life. So we're gonna start off by dampening his hair. Now I started off by spraying his hair with the water bottle and then quickly started to realize this is gonna take forever. So I told him, hey bro, we're gonna take you to the shampoo bowl and we're just gonna get this nice and saturated in the sink. So I'm gonna come in with some warm water, really lukewarm water, not too hot, not too cold, just to dampen everything up. This is gonna save time as opposed to, trying to do this with the water bottle, which would take forever. And then while I'm here as well, I'm trying my best to detangle, so when I come through and create my sections, my comb can feed nicely through the hair. Now we want to keep the hair nice and saturated, but we don't want our client to be dripping water everywhere. So I'm going to lightly dry it with our towel before we go ahead and send them over to our chair. Now when we get to the chair, my goal here is to detangle, get any, bunched up curls nice and spread out so the comb can feed nicely. And what I'm quickly starting to notice is his hair is very, very thick. So we're going to keep that in mind. And now we're going to start off the cutting down of the curls by sectioning, which is going to make this a lot less overwhelming. A lot of barbers, what they would do is try to just chop right into this, but creating nice clean sections is really going to help you stay organized and attack it little by little. So I'm separating it at the parietal ridge. This is where we're going to separate the top from the sides and back, and then I'm just going to twist the hair up and section that out of the way when we get to the end of our scissor work. Now all we need to focus on is the sides and back. You can see how less overwhelming this looks already, but now where the hair naturally splits at the crown, we're going to take that all the way to behind the ear. They call this section the mastoid area, and our goal is to section off the sides so we can focus on the back first. But same idea, we're separating it at the mastoid behind the ear. We're going to twirl the hair up and pin that out the way as well. And now we're going to come over to the other side and do the same thing. So you can see I'm going from the crown, taking a line straight down to behind the ear, and we're separating the sides from the back. And now we're going to be working in 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So instead of working with one big great amount of hair, we're going to go section by section until we have a nice shape. So we're going to start off with the back by saturating it nicely. Hey, really quick, one of the most common questions that I get asked is how do I stop getting lost in my fades? Now the reason this happens is because you lack a map to get to the end result. And that's why I created the haircut mapping guide. This is my free visual guide to structuring any haircut, where I walk you through color-coded the exact guideline placement you need to achieve any haircut. You can get your free guide by tapping the link in the description of this video today. Now, the way I go about cutting the sides and the back is I like to start off by setting up my guideline at the parietal ridge, which is where the hair starts to round. So you can see I'm pulling the hair straight out towards my chest, and we're going to be cutting off about half of this length. So I'm pulling straight off towards me, and this line that I'm creating along the parietal ridge is going to be our guideline, where we take diagonal sections going all the way down to the back of the neck. Now, the reason I'm pulling straight out towards me when establishing this guideline is I want the true length of the hair coming off of the head. I don't want to angle this down at all, because this is going to go from longer at the top to shorter at the bottom of the back of the neck, because we are going to be doing a taper. So you'll see this is the guideline we're going to follow, but as I come in with my diagonal sections, when I get closer to the bottom of the head, you'll see me move my fingers closer to the head. Now you can really see that length difference between everything below that guideline, so we're going to re-wet the hair. This is a key when doing scissor work. You don't want to work with hair that is too dry. And now we're going to take diagonal sections, moving from right to left. So I'm going to pull the hair straight out towards me. You can see the hair that the guideline we established at the top, and we're going to go all the way down following this guideline. But as I get towards the back of the neck, I'm going to pull my fingers slightly closer to the head, because again, we're trying to create a nice wedge shape that goes from taper into curls. Now, if I was doing a mullet, when I pull straight off of the head, that would be what we want to do, because we want the mullet at the bottom to still maintain some of that length and movement. But in this, we just want to save time by going gradually shorter towards the bottom of the neck, so the clippers could blend right into the scissor work. But we're taking a section after this next one, about a comb's width is what I like my sections to be. It's enough hair to grab while not grabbing too much and over directing. So there's the guideline at the top of our finger, and we're going to follow that guideline down, getting closer to the back of the neck. Looking back, what I would have done is continue to saturate the hair more, because I can see how quickly it's starting to dry up already. That's one thing you want to make sure you do when you're using or doing shear work, is that you're working with saturated hair. It gives you more control. The hair is less frizzy. So that's one thing I would have done looking back. But we're still grabbing nice clean sections, following that system and following that process. We're staying nice and controlled here, not trying to move too quickly or just cut because we feel like we need to. We want to have control of the hair as we do this. Now this will be the last section we create, going right to middle. Then we'll switch over to the left side and go left to middle, meeting the right side that we completed. Now we're going to grab a section going left to right, and you'll see at the top of the inside of my finger is the guideline we established at the beginning, and we're going to follow that straight down. Our goal here is to build weight at the top of the crown or above the occipital bone. That's where the roundness will take place, and the taper will be everything below the occipital bone. Now we're going to grab another section and do the same exact thing. Step by step, giving him the exact shape and look that he's going for. Now, after completing our back section, it's time to go ahead and connect that to the sides. Now we're going to be taking horizontal sections, connecting that back right to the side of the head. So you can see the inside of my finger is where we left off with that back portion. And now we're just bringing that forward. And the hair is pretty long, so you'll see me clip up the hair above that we're not dealing with. And then we'll continue to take sections moving up. And when you have a shear process, it's really connecting the dots, right? So we're connecting the back to the sides, then we're going to connect the top to the back and the sides after this. But nice, clean, controlled sections is how you get a good result. Now this is the last section that's going to connect us right into the sides. Very simple, very easy. And we went ahead and did the same thing to the other side. I didn't get that recorded, but we did horizontal sections connecting. Now it's time to connect the top length into the sides and back, which is honestly the easiest part. It's what most barbers know how to do. But we're going to go ahead and split the hair directly down the middle, using the middle of the eyebrows as our reference point. The reason you want it to be down the middle is because you want the weight to be evenly distributed. Like imagine staring at him from a front view and the left side being longer than the right. That's what we don't want. So we're going to split it directly down the middle just to ensure that we give a nice balanced silhouette. But now we're pulling all that length to the guideline that we created at the beginning of the haircut. So remember the guideline we created in the back of the head? We're bringing that top length to that guideline, and this is going to connect it perfectly. Pulling the hair down. If you want to check where your guideline's at, you can always lift the hair up with your scissors, check, and then cut. But we're just building up that weight, giving them a nice round silhouette, kind of wedged towards the bottom. We're just playing that game of connect the dots. And what we did on the right side, we're going to do to the left because, again, we want it to be a nice balanced look. So we're pulling everything to that guideline, but we're still pulling straight towards our chest because, again, we're building weight. We don't want to over direct the top to that guideline and make this too heavy. So you you've seen, I lift the hair up just to make sure that the guideline was there, and we're gonna connect it. Now for the fringe, we're just gonna kind of freehand the front where he wants it. So he wanted it a little above the eyebrow, so that's what we're gonna go ahead and do here. Now we're gonna go ahead and divide the hair into 3 sections to go ahead and trim the internal length of this, because again, we connected the perimeter, right? We established our length in the fringe, we connected the top to the sides. Now it's time to actually cut the top length. So with this middle section, we're gonna go ahead and pull the hair straight up, and since we trimmed the fringe, we're gonna use that as our guideline. So you'll see at the end of my finger is where the fringe length is at, and we're gonna trim everything behind it to that length, following this straight back with this middle guideline. Now after completing that middle section, what we're gonna do is comb that all over towards the right, and this will be our guideline for trimming that right side. So we're gonna take horizontal sections moving forward. Again, you want the section to be about the width of the comb. Now on the inside of my finger is gonna be the length that we already cut, and we're just gonna connect the dots to that length, working our way forward. And we're still staying nice and controlled here. Cutting the top down, with the scissor work was majority of this haircut because I knew how important it would be to the overall look. The taper was the part we spent the least amount of time on. And I think that's super important to know when doing a haircut, is what portion of this haircut is really the highlight, and then doing everything around that, okay? Because I could have gave him the cleanest taper, the cleanest line, but if the length on top would have looked wonky, it would have threw everything off. So I knew if I get the shape right with his curls and then give him a nice taper on top of that, it's really gonna make this haircut, stand out. But we're just continuing those horizontal sections moving forward all through this left side as well. Now, as we finish off with our last section on that left portion, we're just gonna make sure everything's nice and even. And now we're gonna come in with the diffuser to dry the hair. Our goal is to just get it dry enough to do a taper. Curls always look a little better the more air dried they are, but the diffuser is going to allow the hair to dry without blowing it in every which way and causing frizz.
What's up, Clipperhands community? Based on you watching this video, you're probably a barber looking to level up your skill set. And that's why I wanted to tell you about Clipperhands Academy, my online training program where I help barbers level up their skill set, attract more clients, and make more money behind the chair. Inside of this community, I go over my exact haircutting system that I use to give out those Instagram quality haircuts consistently. And this process is called the Build and Blend Framework. Some of you guys might have heard me mention it on the channel, but inside the community, we go more in depth. I also teach you my content framework that I've used to scale my personal brand while simultaneously building my barber business, and that is called the Post More, Make More Framework. And inside of this community, you also get access to my Post More, Make More Blueprint, which is the ebook where I teach you exactly how to implement this in your business. And listen, I've been where you are, right? Where it seems like every haircut that I do is harder than it should be. Fading doesn't make sense, I get lost in my scissor work, so on and so forth. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's possible to cut hair with confidence, because inside of this community, we make hair cutting simple. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and scan this QR code or tap the link in the description of this video, and I hope to see you inside Clipperhands Academy.
Now let's get into the taper. Alright, so with the taper, our goal here is to leave weight at the top, so when the curls kind of fall down, they sit right on top of the taper and not hang over. That's a big mistake barbers make, is they take this 2-guard all the way up to where I separated it with the clip and just shave it. That's really an undercut, and the grow back just looks insane on those. So keeping weight at the top of the taper and allowing the curls to sit on top of that is going to give the illusion that it's perfectly blended and have a nice silhouette. With this 2-guard, we're going to do the same thing. Debulk, take some of the hair around the ear off, and now let's get into the taper. So we're going to start off with our bald line at the end of the eyebrow and where the ear connects to the head, and we're just going to go ahead and shave that down with our trimmer. Then we're going to follow it up with our shaver just to get it slightly closer to the skin. This is going to give the taper some longevity and add a level of gradients to the blend so it really stands out. Now to move on to the next step, we're going to go lever all the way open on our clipper, and we're going up a finger's width above that bald line. That's usually the width I like to make my guidelines moving up. I find it to be like the perfect balance between having a nice gradient blend but also have a nice light to dark transition. And you'll notice as I'm doing this taper, his hair actually blends super easy, so it's not going to take a lot of work to get this taper to look nice and blurry. Now for the line in the middle, I closed it all the way, and then I'm opening up that lever little by little until it's blended. A lot of it I think has to do with this hair color as well as to why this taper blended pretty effortlessly. Now we're going to move on to our 1-guard with the lever open, and we're going up a finger's width above that lever open, and we're just going to continue to work our way up in this process. And I closed that 1-guard just to lighten up the line in between, but it didn't get rid of it fully. So I'm going to come in with my 1/2 guard a quarter of the way open to get rid of that line all the way. And you can already see how this taper is coming together, besides the way at the top that we're going to get rid of with some clipper over comb. So I'm just coming in with the comb and flaring out slightly, and then anything sticking out I'm going to get rid of with the lever open on my clipper. Now you can see the top of the taper. The weight that I left is really the same shade of darkness as the curls up top. So when the curls fall on top of that taper, it'll have a nice wedge look that looks, pretty much connected. Now we're going to come over to his right side and follow that same exact taper process. And what a lot of barbers would have done is they would have done the taper first and then trimmed the top in hopes that it connected to the taper. But I've found when you know what you're blending into, it makes the blending a lot easier. For example, if you do a buzz cut, majority of the time you're going to knock it down first and then do the fade. But with curls or longer length, we do the opposite. But I find actually establishing the length and the shape of the haircut first and then doing the haircut into that makes for a smoother and better result. So I knew that I trimmed the curls already. So now I know I just need to blend into it and I'm done. As opposed to doing the taper and the whole time hoping that I left enough hair for this to blend, if that makes sense. Now this system of cutting that I just explained to you is what I like to call the build and blend framework. And I do go more in depth on how I implement the build and blend framework on my haircuts inside Clipperhands Academy. So if you want to join the community and the program, tap the link in the description. And I would love to see you inside. Now we're just continuing with that clipper over comb so we can maintain that length at the top of the taper. That's going to allow the length and the taper to appear connected when it's not fully. And now it's time for the neck taper. So I'm going to come in with my 2-guard and we're going to debulk. Alright, don't be scared here. We want to give ourselves enough room to blend. As long as you debulk and stay below the occipital bone, which is that bone that kind of protrudes from the back of the head, you will be good. Okay, so we're coming in with that too. And we're scooping out so we have a nice clean canvas to establish our guidelines. Alright, so now let's get into our taper process. So we're going to start off with our bald line. And we're establishing this line a little below the bottom of the earlobe. And we're going straight across. I know some barbers like to exaggerate the roundness on this bald line. But the way the back of the neck is, you don't really have to curve the line too much. Even if you put the line on there straight, there already will be a curve just due to the natural shape of the head. So I don't like to exaggerate it because I like a nice transition from, the skin at the bottom to the length up top. So I'm just going straight across. Now we're going to use our shaver to get it slightly closer. Now what I would have done with this client, because you'll see he starts to turn red, and this was the first time I've cut him, is I would have went a little lighter with everything that I did. I was being kind of heavy-handed because he did turn a little red. And for me as a barber, when a client turns red, that kind of tends to be like a pet peeve for me because I feel like it takes away from the overall look of the haircut. So that's one thing I would have done going back, is be a little more light-handed. But we're coming in with lever open right here. Then we're going to follow it up with our 1 open. And we're following our same exact fading system that we implement on every single haircut. So we did bald line, we did lever open, now we have 1 guard open. And then I believe I go back to the 2 guard open, and then after that we blend down. So I establish my guidelines going up, and I blend them out on the way down. So I'm just continuing to go over with my 1 guard open. I want to make sure that I truly cut everything down to that length. Now right here, this is my 2 guard opens once again, because before we were debulking, I wasn't sure exactly how high we were going to go. So I was being a little more conservative. But going back with this 2 guard, I want to, take off exactly how much I need to. And now we're going to do some clipper over comb, because again, we want to maintain that weight at the top of the taper. And then we're going to detail with our 1 guard once again. And now let's frame everything out. So you've seen I lowered the hair behind the ear. This tends to be the go-to thing that I do when I want to create a wedged shape that kind of starts off short with the taper and flares out into the curls. And it allows me to catch a nice line, but you want to always be sure to keep this line as natural as you possibly can. You don't want to dig into it more than you need to. But you can see how it brings the taper to life, really brings out the detail. And now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. And now we're going to do some more clipper over comb. After I took the clips out, I kind of let the curls sit right on top. And then I want to go in with clipper over comb to ensure we got all the hairs. But you can see the shape that is coming out very nicely. But now to frame out the side taper, we're going to start at the top of the C cup. And then we'll go to the bottom and connect those 2 points in the middle. And as you can see, that taper came together very nicely. You can honestly see how the curls sit right on top of that taper. And we're just cleaning up the corners. We decided not to go with the super harsh line because he has a good hairline and he wears the curls over the forehead anyway. So I just suggested, we just clean up the corners. But now we're going to add some enhancement to really make everything pop. This is our 245 no drip and 245 compressor. Now what we do to one side, you must do to the other. So curls tend to be a little challenging to get perfect in the barbershop because usually you have to drench the hair with water and then apply, the products to air dry. So we're going to try our best to get it looking nice. So I applied some curling cream. Now we're going to use our diffuser to dry it all up. Now my guy is looking like a brand new person. We're going to use some hairspray just to lock everything in. This is how my man came in looking. And this is how he's hitting the streets. We gave him a nice mid taper. Trimmed about half of the length of his curls. This transformation was crazy. If you enjoyed this video, tap that like button, leave a comment down below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. That kind of rhymed and I didn't even mean to, but like always, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.